Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I've put out a number of videos recently about leaving the luxury community, people moving on, no longer shopping, and why we shop. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you in a little bit more depth about today was a lesson that I've had to learn along my luxury shopping, crazy spending money journey. And it's that shopping won't fill the void if something else is wrong. And I tried to do this for a very long time. I had a period of time where I was in a lot of debt, and I've been asked to talk about that debt, and I will do that in a separate video. But I was in a lot of debt. I wasn't in the best place. I had a lot going on in life. And I definitely shopped to try and fill the void. Now, not to this level, because I didn't have that amount of money or means open to me. I did have credit cards. I did buy a Chloe bag that I could not afford. I bought it because I was feeling particularly crap or rubbish one day. Really because I was drowning in debt, I suppose. I felt that I was working really hard, giving it everything, and I still couldn't seem to make any headway. I still couldn't seem to get out of the debt. I couldn't have more money left at the end of the month. I couldn't pay all of the things that had to be paid and still live, and I kept having to fall back to my credit card. But I then decided that I needed to feel better. So to feel better, I was going to go and buy a Chloe bag that I couldn't afford. And it was black, it was crossbody. I didn't even, I suppose, really love it, but I wasn't as aware of designer and luxury at that time, and it was one of the bags that was available, and I bought it. And of course, it didn't fill the void. I felt better and great for about 10 minutes while I was in the store, while I was trying it on, while I was buying it. When I walked out with the carrier bag, I felt fabulous. I felt, look what I've got. And there was an element of that. Because I was feeling so rubbish about myself back then, there was an element of, look what I've got. Look at my carrier bag. Look what I've achieved. And I would think that people must be walking past thinking, she's got it together. She's doing all right. She's got it together. She's able to buy that. Obviously life's going good. Obviously life's going great. And it was all a facade. It was all an image of smoke and mirrors, because I couldn't buy the bag that was in the carrier bag in the first place without having to go into more debt. And I just was trying, I suppose, to get myself through a difficult period. It wasn't just the debt. I was having a hard time. I just was unhappy and I was feeling pretty rubbish and things were going on. And I was trying to fill the void by having this brief spike in the feel-good emotions and the feel-good hormones and strutting with my carrier bag. But the thing is, when I got it home and set it down and looked around, all of what was still wrong was still wrong. All of what was making me feel bad and making me struggle in the first place was all still there. Now, happily, thankfully, this is a very long time ago and I have worked through all of this and I'm in a very different place in my life now. And it's probably only now that I can look back and talk about that time of my life with any honesty and any clarity. Because at the time, I would never have admitted this. I would not have admitted to you that I had bought that bag so as other people, who now, quite famously, I don't care what people think. Generally do not care. And back then, I wouldn't have admitted that I wanted to be walking out of that store, be seen with the carrier bag, and people think, yeah, look at her, she's doing well. Would never have admitted that. It's only with the passage of time and clarity and working through all of the things that were going on back then to put yourself in a different place that I can do that. But I would go home, set the carrier bag down, look around the room, and nothing had changed. Nothing had changed, only that I was in more debt. And then when that sunk in, I would feel even worse because I would know the debt I was already in, and a lot of the debt I was in was for just everyday essentials and making ends meet. And I still had all my student debt and carrying all of that. And adding this on for a handbag. What? I know what it sounds like now, and for somebody who's now quite financially aware and on top of finances, seems crazy. But I did it at the time. It didn't help in the long run, and I just added, I think from memory, the figure of £895 is in my head. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's the figure in my head. That I added £900 worth of debt onto my debt for the bag that was sitting in the carrier bag that was sitting on the table, and I still had all of the things going on, the same as when I went to buy the bag, the same as before. The high that came from buying it lasted a very short period of time, and then I was left coping with the feeling of guilt, stupidity, let myself down by the added debt of what I'd bought for the bag, and still with everything else. So it was very flitting. And I ended up selling that bag because the bag itself then kind of was a little embodiment of the guilt and of the feeling bad. So the bag never brought me any joy. These now, shopping now, in a very different mind space, in a very different time. When I'm happy and life's good and this money's managed, shopping now, this makes me, you've seen the unboxings, you've heard me talk about them, makes me grin like an idiot. Absolutely love it, get an awful lot of joy out of it because I'm shopping from a happy place and in a better place financially, all of that. Shopping back then, buying the expensive bag that I couldn't afford when things weren't good and I already had the debt, just made me feel worse. And looking at it made me feel worse. And I ended up selling it because I couldn't settle with it. I couldn't get any joy out of it. I didn't even love it. That's not why I bought it. Look, these are what I love to buy. Look at the colours. This was a black, plain Chloe bag. I didn't even love it. I bought it for all the wrong reasons. I bought it to show myself that I could. I bought it to show other people that I could. Yeah, hold my hands up to that. I bought it because I felt crap and I wanted to go and buy something fancy. And I bought it because I just wanted to do that at that moment. None of it made anything any better. None of it brought me any joy. And I would have, if I had kept going, just been looking for the next thing to buy and the next thing to try and bring me some joy. That bag though is the one that I always remember because that was the bag that kind of made me realise this doesn't work. This doesn't fill the void, doesn't make you feel better in the long run, doesn't last, doesn't take away any of the unhappiness or the loneliness or whatever else you're feeling, makes you feel worse. And that I always remember was the last big purchase that I made on debt, on credit cards. Other than essentials, I still had to live and I still had to pay for things, but the last stupid luxury purchase that I didn't need at the time, couldn't afford at the time, before I decided to get my together and sort out my finances and start to try and actually make a hole in them and sort out whatever else was going on in my life to get myself in a better position and not to try and fill it and fix it by spending money I didn't have. And that bag always sticks out in my mind because it was kind of the last one and the one that made me realise, what are you doing? And I think that's a lesson I had to learn. I hope somebody watching this can take some learnings from what I did. I probably had to learn it myself because I don't know if I was in the place at the time to admit to myself why I was shopping, why I bought it, what I was trying to do, what I was masking, what I was not dealing with. I probably wasn't. I probably was hiding that from myself even without knowing that I was doing it. So I don't think hearing someone else's story would have took it away, but it might have jolted me into having some introspective thinking and thinking about what I was doing and trying to rationalise what I was doing, because no good came of it for me, and it is something I had to learn, that if there's something else wrong, if there's something else that you're trying not to deal with, buying the bag, buying the pretty dress, buying the thing generally won't fix it, generally won't take it away, and is just going to either delay it a little bit, make you need to go and do it again to get that same high, or if you're like me, it's going to make you feel even worse because you shouldn't really buy it in the first place. And that's my confession, admission, truth about having shopped to try and fill that void, and it doesn't work. It doesn't fill the loneliness, it doesn't fill the emptiness, it didn't make it better, it made it worse. And I am so thankful to be in a very different position in my life now, but when I think back on that time and I read some of the comments on videos about shopping and why people shop, it strikes a chord. And it brings back a lot of those memories, and it makes me probably face what I didn't face back then. Obviously I faced it when I came through it and worked through what was going on, but it makes me face head on where I was at and remember where I was at, and certainly keeps me grounded, because as I've said in another video, when I go about shopping now in a happier place and in a financially more stable place, I will just check in with myself every so often to make sure there's not something underlying it and make sure it's not something else. And I think I'm probably past that now, and it shouldn't be, but I think it's healthy to keep always just checking and making sure there's nothing else going on and reminding myself how that was, to keep myself in a better place now. And that's just, I wanted to share that with you today, because I do think a lot of the comments we get about people shopping because they're lonely or they're in a bad place or they're trying to fill a void or something else is going on, if you're like me, there's truth in them. And I thought if I could share my story of this and it could strike a chord with any of you, then that was worthwhile. And if somebody felt less lonely or felt less alone in it or felt less guilty, that this could be helpful. And that's why I decided to have this conversation with you today. Thank you for watching it. If it has struck a chord with you, please do consider giving it a thumbs up. If you've enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing. And if you're not done with me yet, I'm going to leave another video for you on the screen to enjoy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching me. Please take care, and I will see you again in the next one.